So I was working with Don Jones. He had hired me into the safety and training program at the city of San Diego. And I remember a couple of years into it, we had moved out to that great training center at Lake Murray that was his brainchild, by the way. And we're having classes and we're doing things. And I sit down for my performance evaluation, and he was my boss at the time. And he goes, Sue, you have, I'm like, okay, what do I do to, move to the next level and whatnot? And he goes, you've done a great job of building a network among the city of San Diego staffers. He goes, you know most of the department by name, and at the time, I don't know, there's 1,000 people or so, a couple thousand people in the department. He goes, you know them all by name. You know who the leaders in the organization are. You have built relationships across the organization, up, down, whatnot. How many people outside the city of San Diego in the water department do you know? I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, okay, the water industry. How many people outside of this organization, this department, in the water industry do you know? Crickets. I would challenge that at that moment in time, he did something for me that I'm going to encourage each of you to do, is he encouraged me to stretch beyond my normal zone and meet new people. If you want to be a leader, especially in today's society, you got to get to know people who are very different from you. By him asking me and encouraging me to move outside the city of San Diego's water department and meet people from the local special districts, the Helixes, the OTIs, the Sweetwater authorities, to become involved in professional groups. My first group was this group called the San Diego County Waterworks Group. And they met once a month, every other month maybe, and they had like a dinner meeting and a speaker. And I remember walking into the room, my first meeting, and I walk in and I don't know nothing about professional associations, right? And this is this group of sea of faces I'd never met. I had to go up to people and introduce myself, get to know somebody that I didn't. What were those 2 words I initially used to describe myself? Shy. Yeah. But I would encourage you as a leader, you got to do that. You got to be uncomfortable sometimes, and you got to meet new people, because in meeting new people and in going to that first meeting, I had an opportunity to meet somebody who would later be one of my lifelong mentors. He's been passed away now several years, but he's actually the one who helped me get my treatment plan operator certification and study for that. He's the one who at one time was heavily involved with me in developing these water technology programs at the college level. That particular night, he handed me one of the 2 raffle tickets that he had in his hand. And to this day, I still get a little choked up when I talk about him. He handed me one of those 2 tickets, and he said, nobody should be here without a ticket. And that was a winning raffle ticket. I won a little fire hydrant. It's kind of cool. And his comment to me was, with some time, some energy, and effort, you will someday be a leader in this water industry. When you get to the top of this organization, and realize this is my first meeting. I walk in the door, I don't know anybody. He goes, when you become the president of this group, he goes, the only thing that I ask is that you give me that hydrant back. Because the outgoing president, their outgoing gift was a hydrant. Long story short, he passed away the day that I got my hydrant. But that goes with my next lesson, and kind of why leadership is so strong to me, is leadership is not about you. Leadership is about what you do for others. It's inspiring others. That can be through professional associations, that can be through community volunteerism. It's reaching out to others. He became one of my mentors for years and years before he passed away, because he took the time, energy, and effort, even in his day job when they were rebuilding the Helix treatment plant and putting in that lovely ozone system. That's right when I was studying for my treatment operator certification exams and becoming involved in the AWWA community with certification. And I would drive up the hill and stop at that plant every day, and he would correct the questions he had given me the night before and tell me what I did wrong and help me out. And I realized that even in his busy schedule, he made time for others. And so when I look at leadership, I often think of Mike, and I think of he took time in his day to make me better. And so I would encourage each of you, you're going to walk out of here today, and you're going to think it's all about you being a leader. You cannot be a leader unless you are leading somebody, and that means reaching out to somebody. Before we get too far down that reaching out to somebody, I would say that you're going to make a whole lot of mistakes. I have made a lot of mistakes. I think all of us in the room, there's not a perfect person in here. When you make mistakes, make sure to laugh. Make sure to have fun. It is not all about being serious. It is about growing. It is about laughing and being able to laugh at your mistakes. Like this quote says, laugh at your mistakes, learn from them, joke about your troubles, gather strength from them, have fun. It is all about getting through that. Don't take yourself too seriously. You're going to make mistakes in your leadership journey. It's about going on to the next opportunity and trying again. I bashed my head against a wall numerous times before I finally one day, somebody came up to me and made a comment about something that I had done for them. And I went, wow, that was super cool. And I realized that maybe I had, in fact, made that transition to a leader. I wouldn't say that was overnight by any stretch of the imagination. That was over years and years. But someday, each of you will be able to look in the rearview mirror. Maybe you will be up here at the 25th annual Lemon and Water. And you'll be saying the same thing and in some way sharing your story because you helped others. And what leadership is all about, I would maybe suggest to you, is helping others see what's in their future. See what can be, to dream, to think about it in a different way, and in many ways to grow. Again, I'm all about kind of acronyms, easy things to think about. And by grow, I mean looking at what that goal is. What does that future look like for them? Not necessarily the task, but them as a person. Had mentors and folks along the way not sat me down, and bosses, and said, Sue, I see the potential, but you're making some mistakes, and helped me, I would not have grown. But they could see where I could be, and they helped me crystallize and visualize what that might look like. Think about yourself. What does your future look like? And as much, think about those who you can lead. What might their future be? And what might that look like? Then you always have to do a reality check. Where are you now? That's having those ears open and listening and learning. Be prepared for obstacles. And if you can see them ahead of time, looking at what needs to be addressed to get there. I had mentioned my involvement with the American Water Works Association. When I first started, I said I was president at one time and a director now. I did not get there overnight again, but at one point when I left the group, the San Diego County Water Works group, and I went, okay, what's next? I became involved with the American Water Works Association. And at that point in time, there were very few women in leadership roles in that organization. And there were times when I simply could not actively participate and try out new leadership skills in that group. Like I said, if you're not involved in a volunteer organization right now, I would encourage you to be. There's nothing like testing out your leadership skills. How do you write an agenda? How do you keep minutes? How do you follow up on action items? How do you request and ask people who you have no positional authority over to do what needs to be done and hold them accountable for that? You learn those skills in a volunteer organization, and then you can take those into your workplace, and then you don't have to use your positional authority to inspire and motivate people to do what needs to be done. But there's obstacles along the way. For me, it was a couple of kids. I had to switch husbands. That happens. I also did not have a degree. I had some beautiful opportunities available to me when I left high school. I chose to throw all of those to the wind and get married. I had my first kid and decided, wow, that was pretty cool, but my husband is not going to support this kid thing, and I was raising a kid all on my own. I swore I'd never have any more children with that particular gentleman, who I love and appreciate, and we're the best of friends even today. But that was an obstacle. When you're a woman in water and you are trying to move up or over or around the organizational ladder and trying to lead, and especially then trying to do what Sue just suggested and be a volunteer, those are evening hours, right? Those are additional hours. How do you squeeze that all in? Well, you do things like what I believe it was Tish suggested. You do have to take certain breaks. There were opportunities given to me as I was becoming more and more involved in AWWA. I recall one of the leaders in the organization came to me one day and said, "Sue, can we put your name in to be trustee?" And I didn't at the time know what that meant or what that commitment was, but I remember thinking, oh gosh, no, there's only 24 hours in a day and I already have 27 of them booked. But what I recognized was that wasn't the only opportunity that would come my way. At that point in time, that was an obstacle. I went, nope, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can only commit to what I can commit to right now. Remember my conversation? You gotta bring your whole self to what you do. You can only do that if you get a few hours of sleep every night, and you prioritize what you're gonna do and when you're gonna do it. And when you have kids at home or family or parents that you have to take care of, those are priorities you have to think about. And those are some obstacles that might stand in your way of becoming a leader. But just as in the case of me, a couple of years past, you keep doing what you're doing at a level that is sustainable for you, and that opportunity will come again. And so then the next time when I was asked, I was able to say, sure, I'm ready, I'm available, and I can take that opportunity. Still growing, stretching, and realizing there was a lot to learn. None of that occurs, and you can't really plan ahead, though, unless you think about a strategy to develop and get as good as you can be. You always got to stretch. At my daughter's gym, I mentioned the gymnastics. I remember she went to gymnastics. She started the YMCA out in Santee. And they used to have this little tiny sign in the parent viewing room. And the sign said, I changed it to people on the slide here, but it said, "We try the hardest to reach the things that are just beyond." And what it was encouraging the gymnasts to do is to take that leap of faith, whether it was up to the bar, or whether it was into the pit in a back tuck, or doing a handstand on the beam. If it was just out of their reach, that very next skill they were trying to learn, they would work on it so much. And in doing that, the skills that they already had would improve. And so I would encourage you that when you stretch and you leap, it's not only to get to whatever it is you're stretching or leaping to, but it's to improve on what you already know. How many of you, if I say 2 times 2 is 4, how many of you immediately went, yeah, that makes sense? Got it. You probably hit 4 before I said it, right? 242 times 798. Anybody? Okay, my son could have done that, but yeah. But if we stretch our brains to do that sort of math, what happens to now 20 times 20, 15 times 8? They become no-brainers, right? Leadership is a similar thing. If we stretch to become even a better leader, those day-to-day leadership opportunities that we have are going to become much easier for us. Finally, an action plan. This is for you, okay? Oops, how did we get back to that? Dang, life happens, doesn't it? When it does, you just gotta laugh at it. Okay, here we go. So some things to think about. You've got that pencil, feel free to write it down. You've got those cell phones. If you've got a cell phone, wait until the list gets all the way down to the bottom and then take the picture. So first and foremost, develop innovative practices, value innovation and thinking. Continue to ask yourself what else. Because only by stretching your thought can you stretch your leadership. Only by stretching your thought can you encourage others to come with you, because they're starting from a different place. How do you get people who are here to be here? You have to have them see the path, and they may not have the same background, experience, knowledge, education, whatnot that you do. So you've got to come up with innovative ways to touch people, to connect with people, so that you can then move them forward. Anticipate potential problems along the way. Life, as my husband has said for years, is not easy. My dad the other day said, you know, growing old is a bitch. Wait, no, that was me. But you have to anticipate potential problems. It is not going to be an easy road, but you need to continue to ask and see when others are having problems, how can I help? Because by helping others, that's how you yourself can grow. There's experiences that I have had I would never have had if I didn't say, hey, can I help? Hey, can I join in? I may not have been the most experienced person in the room. That may not have even been my area of specialty, but just by asking, can I help? All of a sudden I'm exposed to new things. I'm currently the program manager at Sweetwater Authority. I have responsibility for safety, occupational health, risk management, emergency response, water efficiency, employee development, certification at a board meeting just this week, one of the board members looked at me and said, "What don't you know?" And I said, "All the specifics," because I don't. But I continue to ask, how can I help? And I continue to learn, because I think it's important as you lead others to at least have a basic understanding of where people are coming from and what technically it's all about, because then you can reach and touch them and move them forward. Use initiative to act upon the opportunities that you do have. Sometimes it's really easy to not stretch. It's uncomfortable sometimes. As you become a leader, ask yourself, what if, go the extra mile, do that extra thing. If you're in a position right now where you don't have those opportunities, I encourage you, those volunteer opportunities are out there. You just got to reach for them. Show some enthusiasm. It is contagious. Back in 2015, we started this program in California. Some of you may be familiar with it or heard about it. It's called the Water Loss Technical Assistance Program, the Water Loss TAP. It was to address some new issues that were coming down from the state of California. What some of you may not know is I had done a water audit before that, using the AWWA methodology. But to explain that to somebody else, to get money to fund a program where the state would provide training to all water agencies that had to learn this stuff in the state of California, I didn't know what that was about, but I was enthusiastic about it. And in being enthusiastic and saying, this is something we can do, I was able to gain participants from the consulting community, from other water agencies, who knew a whole lot more than I did. They knew how to fund things. They knew the legal hurdles. They knew the people who needed to be touched, and brought a team together. We can't do anything alone, but boy, if you have a team and you're enthusiastic and you're like, this is great, you can move mountains. And when you say, this is great, and you have that team with you, you have become a leader. That is what it's all about. You got to show that enthusiasm. You got to share the happiness. You got to share the love. You got to share the success. People don't want to help you and then be forgotten. The best leaders, if you think about, again, that person whose name you wrote down at the beginning here, of who that good leader was, that inspiring leader, I bet you dollars to donuts at some point in time they recognized others, maybe even you, for how good they were or what they were able to achieve. And that really is what the best leaders do. Don't shine the light on yourself when it's all done. Shine the light on those who help make it happen for you. Display that can-do attitude in everything that you do, even if it's picking up trash. Some of you caught me earlier, busting tables. Positive attitude, smile on your face, goes a long way, right? Don't be too high or too proud to do the stuff that needs to get done. People notice that. And take responsibility. In the end, if you do motivate people to move with you in a certain direction, you are ultimately responsible for making sure that everybody gets to the successful finish line. Sometimes that means doing the things that you don't want to do, or picking up the pieces, or learning some part of a project that you really didn't know anything about, because somebody has to do it. I went to a seminar years and years ago, and it was a supervisory seminar, and they said, yeah, the supervisor is the person who gets all the dirty work. And in some regards, I would say that. They get the joy, they get the responsibility, but they're also the one who has to make sure all those little pieces get done. So do make sure to take responsibility for the whole team as you're moving through and guiding and motivating and encouraging people. And then here is that, I think that last one on the list, introduce improvements in the way things are done. We each have an opportunity to touch our water agency on a daily basis, to touch the work that we do to make it better. We heard a lot earlier today about innovation and really stretching to the next thing. Each of you can do that. You can do that by bringing people together and introducing improvements. And if you're seen as a person who's introducing improvements, you will be seen also by your organization as a leader. So with that, share what you know. Ooh, there was one more. Sorry about that, folks, with the cell phone. Share what you know to enhance the team. Somebody mentioned it. Was it Sandy Curl, maybe, mentioned about the old hoarders of the information. You can't hoard information. If you are a leader, you've got to share. You've got to make sure everybody on your team knows as much, if not more, than what you know. And with that, if your actions to dream inspire the action, or if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, you are a leader. Now you just need to take that same little pieces of successful leadership that you already do and move it into a grander scale. So with that, who in this room is a leader? Yowzers, there you go. Thank you. Yes. Sorry.
Sabrina, there'll be a quiz.
With our next speaker, maybe Snyder will be talking to us about mentoring and being mentored. Probably one of the most critical things that you could do as far as moving your career ahead.
Okay.